Today, let's look at a relative newcomer to the market, Owala. With 42,000 reviews averaging 4.7 stars on Amazon, it's clear there are a ton of people who love this bottle. And in fact, it's been the most common brand I've seen in comments on our videos when people suggest which bottles I should try next. So today, let's take a deeper look at Owala's to see what's good, what's bad, and whether the hype is deserved. First things first, let's look at which bottles they have available. They started with a plastic bottle which was released on Amazon in March 2020. The before times. The bottle and the lid in particular received rave reviews, but the bottle never really took off. That changed in 2023 when they began releasing stainless steel products on Amazon, including an insulated bottle, tumblers with handles similar to the style that Stanley popularized, and even dog bowls. But for the sake of time, I'm going to focus on their flagship series, their insulated FreeSip bottles. First, let's look at the good. The most common feature you hear people talk about is the combination straw and chug lid, which is trademarked as their FreeSip Lid and made Time Magazine's list of the 200 best inventions for 2023. It's ergonomically designed around your mouth's shape, which doesn't sound important and is something you probably never would have thought about before trying it, but once you use Owala, it's hard to look at traditional straw bottles with those pivot style rectangular spouts the same. In some ways, it reminds me of our Momnt Mugs because they made small, simple design changes to something that's been around a long time to make it more user-friendly and enjoyable. But the best part of this combination lid is the chug opening, but not for the reason you might expect. Most straw lids have a spout that rotates on a pivot point, and there's this little plastic pin that goes into a vent seal. So when you rotate the spout open, the vent also opens to allow you to more easily take sips from the straw. The problem with those types of lids is that the vent is still very constricted, and it can take a lot of suction to take a sip of water, which can sometimes also cause your bottle to make some weird noises. But the chug opening in Owala's design acts as a wide open vent, which makes it ridiculously easy to take a sip of water. This is the main reason why I found myself exclusively using the straw side, because it's so easy to drink from, and I'd be willing to bet that 90% of people do the same thing. Another benefit to mention is that the straw is easier to clean completely in all of its nooks and crannies, which is something that most straw lids with rotating spouts are notoriously bad about. The silicone seal under the lid cover is also removable, which makes it easier to clean, and the lid goes over the entire spout area and is spring-loaded to open when you push this button, which means you won't have to touch the surface that your mouth will go on to open it up. And finally, Owala's sealing design is less likely to leak compared to traditional straw lids, which can be a problem with some brands. Outside of the lid, there are some other reasons to consider Owala. The standard price is very reasonable, and you can buy a 32-ounce bottle for $34. This is in contrast with Yeti and Hydro Flask, who regularly charge $40 to $50 for a similar volume bottle. And more recently, Owala got another popularity bump compared to Stanley because their bottles are completely lead-free, which is something Stanley and most bottles on the market can't say because of a lead-based solder that seals in the vacuum. Practically speaking, the lead isn't a danger unless your bottle is damaged enough to expose the area between the two stainless steel layers, but some people rest easier knowing there isn't lead anywhere, so it's worth mentioning. The bottle also comes with triple layer insulation, which includes both a vacuum seal to prevent conduction heat transfer and a copper layer to prevent radiation heat transfer. But while this is a benefit over non-insulated bottles, this reason alone isn't enough to consider Owala over other brands with vacuum seals, regardless of whether they're triple layered or not. I did our standard 4-hour hot water test twice, and the results showed Owala actually underperformed compared to similar bottles, even if they didn't have triple layer insulation. But like I say all the time on this channel, there's no perfect product for every person and every situation. Owala is no exception, and there are some negatives to be aware of. For one, the hard plastic 2-finger handle is not great. For such an ergonomically focused spout, the handle was really a disappointment for me because it doesn't feel good when you're holding it. And the way I use and transport my bottle, the fact that the handle is also a lock for the lid cover is more annoying than useful, though I could see how that would be a benefit for someone who would throw the bottle into a purse or bag. The lid can also take a decent amount of force to get it to close compared to some other types of lids, but in some ways this is good because it's necessary for a good watertight seal. There is also exposed plastic under the lid and in the straw, so your water will come into contact with plastic. It's worth noting that these plastics are BPA free and allegedly safe by today's standards, but given the history of plastics and how sometimes new issues come up after years of research, I don't fault anyone for wanting to avoid plastic altogether. And one other very nitpicky issue is that I found the grippy, textured area around the flip cover to be a dirt magnet. So while you should always stay on top of cleaning the inside of your bottle, regardless of which one you own, you might find yourself scrubbing this part of your Owala more frequently than you would with other bottles. And lastly, this may be an unpopular opinion, but for me, I can't stand most of the color combinations. To me, it looks like they blindfolded someone and told them to throw darts at a board with different colors. Some people love the color combos, and that's okay, but most of the colors are a little too funky for my taste. But then again, I'm fully aware that I've never been accused of being a stylish trendsetter, so I'm willing to concede that the colors are a big draw for some people. But many people also don't like the practice of releasing limited series bottles with color drops. While this works great for Owala as a method to manage inventory, generate viral marketing content, and raise FOMO to drive sales, it's not great for the average consumer because it can make some styles more difficult and possibly expensive to get. In fact, when you look at Owala's website, they essentially brag about how some of their limited editions can resell for up to $400. I realize this is not a new business model, and it's not like Owala is selling the bottles for $400 themselves, but the fact that they see this as a positive and list it prominently on their website doesn't give a great look in my opinion. Overall, Owala does have a really solid product offering. The FreeSip Lid is one of those things that makes you wonder why it wasn't invented before, and the benefits far outweigh the negatives in my opinion. So if you're in the market for a straw lid, consider giving Owala a try. There's a good chance you won't want to go back to traditional straw lids ever again. And if you'd like to see a recap with more bottle options, take a look at this video where I compared over a dozen brands. Thanks for watching and happy hydrating.